how to store up treasures in heaven. So this is just kind of a cool topic that I thought about recently that I kind of wanted to expand on because it was something that just became overwhelmingly enlightening to me recently, because I had just experienced it directly in such a way that it just totally made sense for me at this point. So, we remember in the Bible where Jesus talks about storing up treasures in heaven as opposed to storing up treasures on the earth. Now, we know that when we do store up treasures on the earth, we save. We put our money in the bank and we save it, and it gains a little bit of interest. But the cool thing about treasures in heaven are things that when you spend them is when you gain the interest. So this happened to me quite a few years ago where I just showed mercy one day. I was just like, I'm going to show mercy today. That's my plan. I was still kind of new in my walk with God, and I really hadn't fully surrendered yet, but I was like, well, we'll give it a try and do some experimentation and see what happens. Well, I showed mercy to like one or two people, first thing in the morning, but then what I noticed was the rest of the day, people are just showing mercy to me left, right, and sideways. Like, people were going out of their way to hold doors open for me. People were going out of their way to say hello to me. People would get out of their way while they were walking and just say, after you, like, just totally cool. It was really mind-blowing, but I didn't really fully realize the weight of what was going on until just recently, when I realized that that's what treasures in heaven are. Treasures in heaven are the fruits of the Spirit. They're mercy, peace, kindness, love, patience. So when we spend those types of treasures, we get a lot of interest back, not only from God, but from the world around us. Those treasures, it's like a compounded interest in a way that is just beyond anything that human money could possibly provide. So it's a really neat thing. So what we want to do is apply that. So you want to spend your treasures, because the more you spend, the more in heaven that you're going to have that compounded interest. But you can see it at work when you really do have mercy or patience for somebody, or just really focus on love or any of the aspects. You're going to see them come back to you just multiplied over and over and over again in ways that you can't possibly imagine. That's the thing for me is I'm always open to that supernatural, and that's what God really wants, is like, he wants us to live through the Spirit, and that's where these things come from. They come from living through the Spirit and having that spiritual discernment and really fully realizing the gravity of why God set up the things that he set up the way he did. So when we have these treasures in heaven and we have that mercy inside of us, I mean, it just feels good to have calmness inside and having compassion towards others. Like, those feelings are growing inside of me. Treasures in heaven would be spiritual treasures at that point. We don't look for these physical treasures. Yeah, we need enough to get by and things like that, but we don't need anything more than that, because having more money in the bank might give you the ability to be more compassionate, but it might not make your heart more compassionate. And that's the difference, is like, we have to ignore our outer circumstances and be those type of people no matter what, because I think that's the point of what Jesus was trying to get at, was as we're spending these treasures, they're going to be multiplied not only to us but those around us. And I think that's the beauty of heaven, is it's just such an exponential growth of love and compassion. It's just amazing. So I wanted to share that with you today. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.